In this short lecture, we are going to share the views of the institute regarding how to manage effectively the one day before the exam. In fact, it is very critical to manage the stress during the day before the exam. So in order to enable the students to remove that stress and make them feel comfortable before the day of exam, we have thought of coming out with a short video for all the subjects. So in this lecture, I am going to share the views of the institute regarding how to effectively manage the one day before the exam. So you know that corporate and other laws is a second paper in the group 1. Okay, right, don't bother about the time of this video. It's hardly about 20 minutes, and we make sure that the video will be productive and we are not going to waste your 20 minutes time in this critical one day. Okay, right. And I request you everyone to take a book and note down what are the important points you felt, and need not be the entire lecture, but whatever one or two important points which you felt is important for you to improve your revision before the exam. Just make a note out of it. Hardly there will be 1.5 day time after completion of accounts exam and before law exam. There will be 1.5 day time. So within that 1.5 day, we have assumed that 25 hours is the effective time after leaving for a rest period. Okay, right. So you know that the paper 2 has divided into 2 parts: corporate law 60 marks and other laws 40 marks. Accordingly, about 25 effective hours has been segregated: 60% for the corporate laws and 40% for the 40%, that is 10 hours for the other laws. Next, so the first part of your preparation would be to revise the RTPs and MTPs. If you are already having a Discover book which consists of all past examination questions, read that also. You will come to know how the main examination would be. So therefore, before proceeding to the main syllabus, our first objective is to revise those 3: RTPs, MTPs applicable for your attempt, and the Discover book. Discover book is nothing but compilation of all the previous examination questions. Okay, first priority items is tested topics which has been already tested in the past examinations. Second priority items is topics which has not yet been tested in the past examinations, but there is a high probability of testing in the upcoming examinations. And third category is just to save your time. So since we have only 25 hours time, it's literally not possible for you to revise the whole syllabus. Therefore, in order to ensure that you are utilizing your time effectively, we have taken some less important topics. So there are less chances of getting these topics in the examination. Next, so this is the order of the law. So first priority questions, second priority questions, and third priority questions: company law, other law, company law, and other law, like that respectively. Okay, I think the slide is self-explanatory, you can understand. Okay, first you have to read the company law first priority item, then you can read the other law first priority of items. Next, so part A, company law, is 60 marks. So gross time we have allocated 15 hours. Within that, RTP and MTP covers 1 hour, and the net available time is 14 hours. How to utilize this 14 hours time for the for various chapters? Okay, so this is the list. So chapter name, class of companies. Chapter 1 is preliminary. Hardly it has a company and body corporate definition. None of those are important. If at all you get a definition called as company and body corporate in the examination, again that will be repeated in the General Clauses Act. Therefore, you no need to read the preliminary chapter, because those will be again repeated in the General Clauses Act. You can completely confidently leave the first chapter. Okay, next, second chapter. When it comes to the second chapter, class of companies, small companies, you know, in the recent attempt they have been tested, the small companies, and subsidiary companies, they have been tested long back, but they have been tested in the past examinations. Therefore, first priority item, small company and subsidiary company. Second priority items, associate company, government company, listed company, and related party. Even though I have given government company as a second priority item which has not been tested in the past examinations, but according to me, definitely there is a high chance of those has already been tested in the MCQ part. That we don't know, but I am guessing that associate company also might have tested in the MCQ. If not tested, in upcoming examinations also there is a chance of testing the associate company definition. Very important. And government company definition, normally it is not much important, but because of the recent small amendments, government company definition also may be chance of testing, at least in the form of MCQ. If not 4 marks practical question, there is a small change in the government company definition. Rather than paid up share capital, they are asking you to take the total voting power. So that small definition, whether you are aware of that or not, there is a chance of testing, at least in the MCQ part. So therefore, there is a government company definition, and most important is the listed company definition. So listed company definition is very important. Practically also it is very important. At the examination point of view, very important listed company definition. So I'm expecting an analytical and comprehensive practical question about the listed company. If not in this attempt, at least in the next attempt or very soon, I'm expecting a practical question on the listed company very comprehensively, and most especially in the compulsory part, first question. Okay, so if you are lucky, you may get in this attempt itself listed company definition. Very important. Read the definition thoroughly and be prepared for a practical question. Gone are the days where you will be tested in the theory format. Therefore, listed company amendment. What are the 3 points? What are the 3 companies that have not been considered as a listed companies? Don't just mug up the 3 points. What is the implication of the definition? What is the logic why those companies has been excluded from the definition of listed companies? Therefore, be prepared for a practical question based on the listed company. Okay, according to the past trends, maybe they can change the examination pattern, they may change about the theory questions also, that we can't say, but based on the past pattern, there is a high chance of testing it as a practical question. Okay, most of the students are reading the amendments but in the theory format, but listed company definition there is a high chance of testing in a practical format. And related party, they have not, there is less chance of testing, but still, because in the past examinations they have given one concept called as officer in default, which is a surprise measure, surprise element. Keeping in view of that point, I thought of this concept related party may be tested in the upcoming examinations as a matter of surprise, because most of the students will neglect the topic. Even in the classroom also, we don't pay much attention to this definition. The reason being, related party transactions are covered in the CA final syllabus, section 188. So therefore, in the CA interlevel, we pay less attention to the related party definition. Maybe that is the chances of giving it as a surprise question. Okay, that you have to prepare related party practical question only. But listed company. So if the question paper is going to be moderate, you can get a listed company. If the question paper is going to be a surprise, you can get a related party definition. Remaining topics are third priority, you can ignore. And when it comes to the third chapter, promotion and incorporation, yes, OPC, small company and OPC are the favorite topics to the ICAI, because of the CA interlevel basic things which you have to know. Because immediately when you join for the articleship, so those topics are very important. That is the reason there is a chance of testing those things in alternative attempts. So therefore, there is a high chance of framing a practical question based on the OPC. More possibility than listed company. Even though listed company is the latest amendment, but according to my opinion, OPC has a more chance of being tested than a listed company. And these two important topics, several liability and commencement of business, those are also latest topics. Okay, amended in the past couple of years, but still that there is no practical question in the examination based on those two topics, several liability of members section 3A and commencement of business section 11. So therefore, we are expecting a practical question based on those 2 points also. Next, MOA. MOA, alteration of MOA. So therefore, you can expect a variation of objects clause or variation change of name clause. Okay, you can expect, because recent examinations they have emphasized on the shifting of registered office clause. Therefore, if at all you get any question from this chapter, alteration of MOA, there is a chance of testing on variation of objects clause or change of name. Similarly, rectification of name. Rectification of name, according to my opinion, I am guessing this, I am betting more on this concept called as a rectification of name and a reservation of name. Consequence of furnishing wrong information at the time of applying for reservation of name. That may be the important question. Next, when it comes to the AOA, in the past examination in the new syllabus, AOA has touched upon only one topic, that is called as doctrine of indoor management. They have tested couple of times according to my memory. Therefore, there is a chance of repeating it again. Indoor management. There is a chance of repeating indoor management as a theory question or entrenchment as a practical question. Okay, entrenchment, practical question, indoor management, theory question, and alteration of articles of association is also theory question. Because entire 90 marks descriptive paper is not going to be very tough. Out of the 10 or 20 marks or 30 marks, optimistically, maybe very easy part. In that easy part of 30 marks, you can get this question of alteration of articles of association. Question paper has been divided into 3 parts. Some questions very difficult, some questions very moderate, and some questions very easy. So in that moderate top part, we'll get doctrine of indoor management. In that very difficult part, you can get entrenchment. In that most easiest part, you can get the theory question on alteration of articles of association. Okay, that is the chances are there. Okay. Next, chapter 6, prospectus. My personal suggestion is better to leave this chapter if you don't have sufficient time, because hardly you'll get one question from this, but for that you have to read so many topics. And the shelf prospectus is a favorite topic to the ICAI. So in this attempt, I am expecting section 25 or section 28. Both are deemed prospectus. One is offer for sale. The word deemed prospectus is observed in both the cases, section 25 and section 28. Both has equal chance of repeating the examination. And dematerialization. It is a recent amendment, and the government and the CA Institute is 200 limits on the exceptions, type of resolution, board resolution, special resolution once in a year and special resolution every time, and the right of renunciation. So I am betting these three are critical. They can frame a practical question based on these 3 points. And return of allotment also, I am expecting it. According to my guess, there may be a theory question on the return of allotment attachments. What are the documents to be attached along with the return of allotment? There is a chance of testing that question. Irregular allotment is also there. Past examinations they have tested. As I told you, some of the questions of the question paper may be repeated from the past examinations. If you get a past examination repeated question in this chapter, you may get irregular allotment. If you get new question, you may get the documents or documents which are to be attached with the return of allotment. That chances are there. Most of the students ignore the topic. What are the documents which are to be attached along with the return of allotment? So you remember that private placement I told you 200, type of resolution, and no right of renunciation. Okay, these topics are to remember. Underwriting anyway is there. Next, issue of shares, chapter 8. Yes, equity shares with differential rights also very important. We can get, and sweat equity shares and variation of shareholders' rights. So I have given these points: equity shares with differential rights, or sweat equity shares, or variation of shareholders' rights also. Okay, suddenly, as I told you, there will be some questions in the examination, even though that has been given as a choice, you may not be able to utilize that choice. In the fifth question of the question paper, there will be sub choice, within the intra choice. Within that question, there will be a choice. Okay, so in that there is a chance of testing this shares versus stock, because most of the students may not be able to write the difference. Therefore, they will give it as a choice, but you are unable to utilize that choice. That is the case with shares versus stock. Next, alteration of share capital, bonus shares, very important topic, and buyback, the institute's favorite concept, buyback, finance to purchase shares. Okay, these are you can give a loan up to 6 months salary for purchase of fully paid shares, not to the key manager person, etc. So that past repeated practical question. And buyback, every concept you have to remember. And reduction of share capital is a bit difficult question to solve, that has been tested in the past examination. Therefore, now I am betting on the rights issue. So my guess is rights issue, they may touch rights issue question, or easiest part, alteration of share capital question also. Next, transfer and transmission, they have tested already one practical question. So what is the remedy available to the shareholders when the tribunal refuses to register? That possibility is there. And I am betting on this concept called as options to legal heirs. According to my personal opinion, there is a chance of testing these two, most especially that concept, options to legal heirs. In case of death of a shareholder, remember what is the options to legal heirs. There is one example in the ICAI study material. I am expecting a practical question based on that options to legal heirs. You please go to the study material for that example. Next, membership definition, place of keeping register of members, already they have tested in the exam. And ICAI's most favorite question from this chapter is section 19. It has been tested 3 or 4 times in the past examinations according to my memory. So underwriting commission, shelf prospectus, and section 19, according to my observation, they are most favorite questions to the ICAI that has been repeated. And very important, subsidiary company not to hold shares in the holding company, section 19, that is important, you have to remember. And significant beneficial ownership, latest provision, institute expect the students to at least have a basic understanding of that. So therefore, significant beneficial ownership is also important. And when comes to MGT 1, explanatory statement, quorum, meetings, etc. Okay, AGM in the past examination they have tested the AGM. So therefore, in the present in the upcoming examination, you may expect a practical question on the quorum also, MGT 1. And MGT 2 is very important. MGT 2, according to my guess, I am betting on electronic voting and postal ballot. You may get a practical question or theory question based on the electronic voting and postal ballot. And minutes is also very important. There you can get multiple practical questions on the minutes. Annual return, couple of times they have tested the annual return. That is also important, annual return. Okay, right. And this topic called as filing of documents, section 117, that is also chance of testing it. Next, declaration and payment of dividends. So this chapter appears to be very small, but institute has given much importance to this chapter. You may get 5 to 8 marks from this chapter, declaration, payment of dividend, and the topics are very simple. Okay, so dividend from reserves, that is a landmark question, dividend from reserves and how to pay the dividend within 30 days, etc. And prohibition on declaration, there are practical questions for every subheading, prohibition on declaration. Okay, sorry, prohibition on declaration, 2 small points, section 8 company deposits failure, etc. And punishment for failure to distribute dividend, there is a practical question from any of the side headings. These are already the topics tested in the past examination, very important. And if at all you get an easy part, as I told you, third part of the question paper is very easy. There you may get a differences between interim dividend and final dividend, because institute has given a separate tabular format in the study material. What is the interim dividend and what is the final dividend? You may get a theory question based on that interim dividend, final dividend. And unpaid dividend account. So most important, that That concept has not yet been tested. So therefore I'm expecting unpaid dividend account theory question or pending registration of transfer. What is the consequences? You have to keep the shares in abeyance. That concept you may get as a practical question. Okay. Next, charges and deposits. They are very small chapters and very important from the ICAI point of view. Hardly they will have question paper without this concept called as charges and deposits. Though there are small points, according to me they are more important than prospectus chapter. Prospectus chapter and share capital chapter appears to be very big, and these chapters appears to be very small, where the students will give less importance. But according to me, deposits and charges are very important. Okay, these are the past examination questions, registration, time limits, etc. So according to my guess, I'm expecting this acquisition, every point. So look at this, how many points are there very important which has not yet been tested, because there is a less chance of repeating in this chapter, charges chapter. Unlike prospectus and share capital, in this charges chapter and deposits chapter, there is less chance of repeating past examination questions. Always they will search for the new questions. That is the reason you will get the second priority questions more than the first priority question. Okay, next, debentures. Our chapter has hardly very small chapter. Therefore, no past examination question in the debentures chapter. I'm expecting debenture trustee. Next, deposits. I told you entire chapter is important. Maybe theory question or a practical question. So therefore, look at the third column. There is no third column. Nothing I have given in the third column. Okay, if you look at the third column, deposits, third priority chapter, I have given nothing, because all are important in the deposits chapter, like the charges chapter also. Okay, audit and auditors. Those students who are attempting both groups, for them it is a bonus chapter. You no need to read it separately, because it has already been covered in the second group auditing paper. So therefore, those students are attempting both groups, for them it's a cakewalk, because bonus, you no need to read it separately. And given the current scenario, I'm expecting a question on the NFRE, the role of NFRE, and what is the auditor's responsibility to report frauds, etc. So this most especially NFRE role, you can expect a question on the NFRE role, practical question. These are all the topics which has been tested in the past examinations. No more topics has been tested in the past examinations. And accounts of companies. This is the last part in our material, but it's very important. Look at this, how many topics has already been tested. Remember, when you start your preparation, the company law start with the last three chapters: declaration of dividend, accounts of companies, and audit and auditors. These are the three topics introduced in the CA Inter, which is not there in the IPCC. Therefore, definitely you will get 20 marks from these three chapters: dividend, accounts of companies, and audit and auditors. You have to start the preparation with these three chapters, high scoring topics. Okay, so these are the right topics which I have given, previously tested topics and the expected topics, etc. Okay, when it comes to the other laws, hardly we have 9.5 hours time. It's very difficult bet for me to guess the other topics question, because always new question, very less chance of repeating. So indemnity is very important topic. Out of the three chapters in the other laws, that is bailment and pledge, indemnity and guarantee, contract of agency. So indemnity and guarantee is the favorite subject to the ICAI, both in the CA IPCC and also in the CA Inter. There is no examination question without the indemnity topic. Sometimes they may miss the bailment chapter, but they have never missed the indemnity chapter. And sometimes they have given two questions from this indemnity chapter, both in the IPCC and also the CA Inter. Therefore, this is the most important chapter out of the three: bailment and pledge, contract of guarantee, and indemnity. So this is the most important: contract of agency, bailment, indemnity. This is the important topic. Therefore, you have to read almost all every topics in this. Okay. Next, so practical question only, contract of agency. If not, if possible, you can keep this chapter at the end, because the chapter is very lengthy compared to indemnity and guarantee. It's very lengthy, and it may not be as brainstorming as the indemnity. According to my personal opinion, indemnity is a bit interesting topic. You can storm your brain, you can sharpen your brain with the topic. But whereas contract of agency appears to be a dull chapter and lengthy chapter to score. Okay, therefore give a least importance to this topic. Next, Negotiable Instruments Act. Okay, so it's a very big chapter, and most students are scared about this chapter. But luckily, in the latest study material has been revised, and they have removed most of the topics. So therefore, I suggest you to remove first these three topics, whatever I have given. Dishonor of check. Look at this topic, dishonor of check. There's a very big topic. What is the punishment? What is the summary trial? And in which court I have to file? Dishonor of checks, material alteration, endorsement and delivery, holder and holder in due course. Okay, crossing of checks. So even though the chapter Negotiable Instruments Act appears to be very lengthy, but give importance to this chapter. Read first. Crossing. Definitely you'll get whatever the topics I am telling. Definitely you'll get two questions from this chapter. Two or three out of three questions in the examination, at least two questions you may get from these topics: crossing of checks, holder and holder in due course, endorsement and delivery, material alteration, dishonor of checks. These five topics. Don't bother about the size of the NI Act chapter. Read these five chapters, and if remaining topics, if you have time, read it. Otherwise, leave it. Only 5 important topics: crossing of checks, holder and holder in due course, endorsement, material alteration, dishonor of checks. Give importance to this. Don't bother about the size of the chapter. Don't get scared about the size of the chapter. Leave the remaining topics. Okay. Next, General Clauses Act. It's very hard to expect a question based on this General Clauses Act and interpretation of statutes, because these two chapters are very at the high end. In fact, according to my opinion, these two chapters should have been there in the CA final. Earlier, interpretation of statutes are there in the CA final. Now, I don't know, the institute has been brought into the CA IPS level, but at the IPS level, it's about the students' grasping ability to get this chapter. Luckily, you can get easy questions also from this chapter. Okay, so therefore, General Clauses Act, these are the past topics. Good faith, I think they have tested 3 times the good faith. Therefore, that is exhausted in the past examinations. I'm not expecting, but I can guess a practical question based on the immovable property. Immovable property, even though it has been tested couple of times, but still there is a scope to test that immovable property. The topic has not yet been exhausted, so therefore I can expect a practical question based on the immovable property. And the second point, affidavit, official gazette, person. Okay, most especially offences punishable under 2 enactment. Read those, very important question. Offences punishable under 2 enactments, previous publications, etc. There are many topics in the General Clauses Act also, which is very difficult for the students to understand. General Clauses Act and interpretation of statutes. Therefore, if you don't have sufficient time and if you are not able to understand, read this topic. The positive point here is that these topics important and easy to understand. That is the very greatest advantage. So therefore, you don't need to bother about these topics. Sir, this is important, sir. We can read this is important, sir. We know that, but whether it is easy for us to understand? Yes, it is very easy for you to understand these topics, and these are very important topics. That is the plus point in this chapter. And interpretation of statutes is highly beyond my expectation. I can't guess which topic you may get, but based upon my maturity, I have given these topics according to my guess. Marginal notes or dictionary definitions you may get. Okay, so remaining are already tested in the previous examination questions. Okay, so bailment and pledge also small chapter. Even though the number of topics appear to be very small, but it's very easy topic, easy to understand. Don't leave this chapter. At least some students are preparing just 1 hour before the examination or half an hour before the examination. During that time, if you want, you just have a go through this chapter, not earlier that. Okay, because it's very easy to understand. Okay. As the available time is very less, I suggest you to go through the conclusions of the practical questions rather than reading the entire question, and just like how you focus on working notes in the problematics. Rather than reading the question and answer, you'll focus only on the working notes. Therefore, do the same thing here also. Just focus on the conclusions. Okay, don't read the question and don't read the rest of the answer. Focus on the conclusion and revise the summary of the chapter. Whatever is given the ICAI study material or whatever is given, whatever the special points you have noted down, just give the importance to that. And finally, all the very best for your examination. I would like to conclude this lecture. And the credit for this lecture goes to the management, because it is not our thought, it's the management thought, because out of their 100% commitment and dedication to provide a quality education to the students. Out of that commitment comes this kind of ideas. Therefore, 100% of our credit goes to the management only. We are just implementing what the management instruction says. Therefore, the credit I give to our academic director, Mr. Prakash sir.